Okay, there we go. So thank you all for being here today. Today we are going to be talking about discussion and debate tools. So I'm excited that you're here. We're going to do a little priming activity just to see kind of where we're at. And this is called screen on, screen off. So we start with screens on. So if you have your screen off, go ahead and turn it on and turn your camera off if whatever the statement is, okay? Complex things this afternoon. All right, so turn your camera off if you've ever tried a Socratic seminar in your class. Okay. We've got a couple people that have tried Socratic seminar. This is gonna hopefully be something that can kind of help with that. So camera's back on. All right. Turn your camera off if your students equally participate in your classroom discussions. Sometimes, right? So I think that that's always our goal. But if you're anything like me, I design these great discussions and I get so caught up in the discussion, it's really hard for me to track who participates and who doesn't. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. So cameras are on. Turn your camera off if you aren't sure if it's okay to grade students on discussions. Those lovely participation grades that are really hard to track sometimes, okay? So we're going to talk about ways that you can actually make meaningful decisions of grading based on discussions, not just on personal feelings. And then turn your camera off if you want more structure to your class discussions. Okay. So I think that that's always our goal is, to make sure that our kids are participating and that they're participating equitably and meaningfully. So today's tools really do look at both of those. So want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to grab our tools for today. And they should be going in the chat. So you've got the sign in there that Candy already put in the chat. And you can also just grab your phone and do the QR code. And then I'm going to put the note-taking guide also into the chat. So you can grab that, make a copy for yourself. Maybe. Go. So you can grab your note-taking guide, make a copy of that, make sure that you sign in so you get credit for being here. We'll give everybody just a second to get that done. So today, the two tools that we're going to explore for discussion and debate are Kialo EDU and Parlay Ideas. So Kialo EDU is actually an Australian company. So my husband's favorite dad joke is, how does an Australian say shark? Anybody know? No? Y'all aren't cool with the dad jokes? Shock, right? From Shark Week, because That's his favorite dad joke. So feel like an Australian when you say Kialo EDU. But Kialo has a couple of ways that you can use it. You can host classroom debates, which is exciting. We are not going to get to do that today, but I did put a resource at the bottom of the note-taking guide for how you can set up a debate. You can set up essays, you can review. What we're going to look at today is a discussion, using it as a discussion tool. You can create teams within your classes. And the most exciting thing is Kialo is free. And then we're going to talk about Parlay Ideas. Parlay Ideas is also for discussion. We're going to play with that one a little bit. You can do online discussions, which is great for your asynchronous kids, or even your distance kids who are going synchronously. But you can also use it live in class. And what I like most about Parlay is the data that you can get from it. So there's free and paid options, and we'll talk a little bit more about what the difference is. But basically, like with free, you get one classroom and you get 12 discussions that are free. And then the paid options kind of go from there. So we're going to kick off with Kialo EDU first. And on your note-taking guide, and Ms. Turley, I'm going to put I want to make sure that you get the note-taking guide. Can somebody put that back in for me?
Thank you. Sorry, I'm late.
No worries. I'm glad you're here. There we go. Thanks, Joe. So as you watch this short video about Kialo, I want you to think about how you might use it in your classroom. So I'm going to try not to blast your ears off. Somebody's going to need to tell me if I do. So we're going to watch this quick intro video. And as we watch the video, I want you to think about how you could use this tool in your classroom.
Welcome to Kialo, the only platform designed specifically for rational debates. Here on Kialo, you can debate anything, big or small, from the hottest political topics to important company decisions. Kialo is designed to keep discussion balanced with clear, concise arguments from both sides. That makes it easy to weigh the pros and cons without all that editorial noise. Kialo's unique structure allows you to dive as deep into a debate as you want. Just click on an argument and all the supporting and opposing points are displayed clearly, so you can have small, targeted debates or wide-ranging discussions with hundreds of arguments, all without losing sight of the main issue. The arguments are arranged according to their impact, so the strongest arguments, as judged by users, appear at the top. If you want to add a new argument, just click the plus. It's easy. Everything is kept neatly organized, so you can quickly understand a debate even when you join later, because instead of having to make sense of a giant email chain or forum thread, you can pop in and see the best arguments for both sides. You can browse hundreds of active discussions or create your own. And then start debating with your colleagues, your friends, or the whole world. Only invited users can approve suggested arguments, so it won't get overtaken by trolls. With Kialo, you can easily visualize every aspect of a complex debate, so you can be more thorough and more thoughtful about the issues that matter to you and the world. Empowering reason. Kialo.
All right, so take a second to think about how you are going to use that, how you might use that tool, and go ahead and put that in the chat. Think about what you teach and how you might use that tool. Put your answer in the chat. No right or wrong here. Okay, I'm seeing a true debate with teen leadership, thinking about both sides of a common problem, having students separate their ideas clearly, right, or getting that clarity in their thought process. Candy says warm up or anticipation guides. I like that. Yep, definitely, Melanie. We'll see that students can add to both sides. Helping with Zoomies and Roomies. I love that you say call them that. A tool to generate discussion, an informal assessment tool. Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's take a little bit of a dive here. So when you come into the tool, there's lots of ways. They have lots of demos that you can look at. So I would encourage you to kind of explore a little bit. I'm going to show you how to create a discussion. I'll show you one that I was playing with earlier today, my president test. And my thesis was that Kevin Hart would make a better president than The Rock. Okay, that's what I decided. And so I had a couple of my friends kind of go in and play and put their thoughts in. So this is what it begins to look like once you get it going. You can add pros and cons to statements. You can make comments on statements. You can edit and make your assertions much clearer, which is kind of nice. So like this one, somebody said it's funnier, which makes people like him more. And then somebody came back in and said, actually, I think that's a con because it makes him harder to take him seriously. So up here at the top, you can see how it visually looks. So you can kind of think about where my students are in their thought process. And then you can monitor their edits, their comments. You can see that they are able to, let me see if I can get to that comment. They can have conversations about, asking clarifying questions. So that's what it begins to look like. And then you can morph it into an actual debate. But this truly is kind of like priming their thought process and getting them to look at two specific sides of an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk through creating one. So up here in my top left, right corner, I'm going to create a discussion. So Kialo is separate from Kialo EDU. So teachers, that's the free, is the Kialo EDU. It doesn't give you the option to make it public because we want to make sure that we're protecting our students and that their information is not available. So everything stays private. And you can share that with your students. So you don't have the option to change that here. So I'm going to make that private. So you can have the option to do a single thesis or multiple theses, whatever it is. And it kind of shows you the example here. I'm going to go with a single thesis on this one as I'm setting mine up. And my thesis is going to be decorating for Christmas is acceptable. If I could type, Thanksgiving. Okay. So I can give some background information if I want to. I can actually add content. So if I want to prime my students even more, I could put a video there. I could put an article there for them to look at before they can even start putting in their thoughts, which is nice. I can add tags to it. I can change the language that it's in. So a couple of options in setting it up. I could even put an image here if I wanted to. Let's see, I have one here for you. Funny meme, right? Nobody's skipping Thanksgiving. And now I have my thesis and my discussion is ready. It was that easy to set it up, okay? So a couple of things that I've noticed, make sure that your thesis is clear. And this is really kind of a trial and error, but writing a viable thesis is good practice for everybody. And that's something that we want to show our students that we're also working through. So make it work, change it, but the more clear that your thesis is, the better your discussion will be. So now I'm ready to share so I can get people going. So I will tell you that, and I don't know that it's a drawback, but one thing that you need to know about both of these tools is that your students can't participate in these without an account. So like my students could see this discussion, but to participate in it, they have to have an account. But making an account is easy because you can do a single sign-on with your Google. So I want to have, I'm going to give the access link, and security is important. So I want to enable this, and I can change what they can do. And I'm going to have y'all try this. I want you to go in to see how it feels to participate in this. So you're going to be writers, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put this in the chat. And I want everybody to click on that link, do a quick sign in, and then I want you to give me as many pros and cons as you can think of in the span of 3 minutes. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to get signed in, and then 3 minutes to get your pros and cons in. All right, I'm seeing quite a few of you in there. Once you have given at least one pro and one con, I want you to start commenting. Yes, Candy, you have to think of a pro. We are expanding our critical thinking. This one's for you, my friend. I want you to go in, and I want you to either give feedback, make a comment on something that somebody's already put, or if you feel like you want to add a pro or a con to something that's already there, go ahead and do that now. We're going to take another 2 minutes to give each other feedback and focus on our pros and cons. You can also rate claims on the validity of other people's claims. I'm gonna let you play for a few minutes and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. So let's take a look at some of the things that I can see on my end. So I'm seeing all of these pros and cons. I'm able to see comments. I'm able to see some people rated some of these ideas. I can see that most of my participants think that decorating for Christmas is not acceptable visually here. I can see the comments here, over here on the side. I can see any changes that are made. And then if I feel like maybe I have one person who's not participating, I can just see what that one person has done. So lots of ways that I can kind of manipulate my information here visually. And then I can also go back as the instructor and I can give feedback as well. So my next step would probably be to set some expectations around, now we've tried this, we've done it. Now let's look at the types of claims that we made, what's appropriate, what's not. Let's pick through these. And the more often that you do it, the better it will be. And then my next step might be to set up a debate on this. Now that we've clearly been able to see both sides, now I can say this group you're for, this group you're against. Start setting up your debate points. Okay. So thoughts on Kialo. We're not going to have time to do the debate today, unfortunately, but you do have the link there for how to set up a debate. So what are some ways that you could see using this for instruction now that you've seen how it works? Feel free to go into the chat.
As I was doing it, I was thinking that it could also be a great way, not only for debate, but for brainstorming. So if students in English or anything that they're writing about, if they have an idea of what they want to research or what a topic that they could write about, then they can post it in here and get feedback from their peers, like things that they could say versus things that they couldn't say, or whether they think it's a good or bad idea. I don't know, something like that. I think that might be a fun way to use it.
Like that. Jerry, in the chat, you said in math, arguing which process is more efficient. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so when students are solving problems, there's oftentimes multiple ways to solve a problem. And as educators, we always want them to use the most efficient ways. But I always like opening it up to my students to see which way was comfortable for them, and then they would debate. They'd actually debate in class whose way was the better way, and why it was easier to do it their way. So I think this would be a really neat place to have debates like that, like why is this process more efficient, or why did you state this in your conclusion? Because sometimes we'd also have like open-ended types of questions where there is more than one answer, but typically students would have two answers.
I like that. Anybody else have any great ideas that they want to share using it for similarities and differences? Yep, could do that. Pretty easy to set up, easy to moderate on your side, and it's a good way to get everybody, regardless of where they're at, whether it's in person or distance, kind of working in on the same thing. If you're thinking about your asynchronous kids, like you could set it up and introduce it as maybe a warm-up or as an exit ticket with your in-person, and then have the rest of the day for your asynchronous students to post and give each other feedback. So lots of ways that you can get everybody moving on this. I like that, Tanya. Helping students think before speaking, get them some ideas, really like that brainstorming piece of it before they have to jump into a conversation. We definitely want them to be a little bit more comfortable in that. And so you have this setting up a debate on your note-taking guide. Yep, I understand I need more support. All right, so we're going to transition a little bit in the interest of time. And we're going to go into Parlay Ideas. So another quick video. Also, same question, kind of thinking about how I can use this tool. How might I use this tool in my classroom? Because it's a little bit different.
The Parlay universe is our growing library of community-created, ready-made discussion prompts that save teachers time and connect the classroom to the events and ideas shaping our world. Parlay's online roundtable is a collaborative online discussion where students share their own unique ideas, build new ideas together, and learn to give and receive constructive peer feedback. Parlay's live roundtable is an in-class, face-to-face discussion activity. Our digital hand raise system encourages active listening, ensures all students have the opportunity to participate, and helps students make their contributions more intentional and substantive. Throughout Parlay, teachers draw from engagement summaries and rich data visualizations, making it easy to measure, assess, and provide personalized feedback to students as they develop and refine their critical thinking and communication skills.
All right, so take a minute, a second to process. How might you use this tool in your classroom? If you can think of a different way that you might use this tool in your classroom, go ahead and put that in the chat or unmute yourself and feel free to share. We've got a good group here that I'm sure could benefit from hearing your ideas. Or also, what do you think that Parlay offers that Kialo didn't? Which of the two would be more efficient to use in breakout rooms? That's a good wonder. I like that. We're going to talk about how you can, because Parlay has two different ways that you can structure discussions. And the article that is linked at the bottom of the note-taking guide has a resource. It's got how to use it for the modes that we're in. So remote, hybrid, synchronous, asynchronous. I think there's like 8 or 10 ways that you can use it, which is pretty cool. So wider audience, immediate in class, definitely. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I I took screenshots because these are things that you would see like when you begin with Parlay. So once you create your account, again, it's that single sign-on. I'll show you how to do it in just a second. You have the create. It's your first time to create your first roundtable. So you have online roundtables and live roundtables. So it shows you right over here. It gives you the option of which one you want to create. What I really, really like about with what Parlay has done is they truly have made it easy to use. And if you hit a snag, there's lots of ways that they help. So their user guide is wonderful. They actually, both of these videos, that's what these are linked right here before you start your discussion. A video for you to watch on your own that gives you tips and tricks, and then a video to show your class to truly prime them before they get started and kind of preset some of the expectations and ideas before they get going. So we're not going to watch it all, but I'm going to show you the beginning of it, the one for students.
Welcome to your first live roundtable. My name is Bobby, and I'm the founder and CEO of Parlay. The first thing you need to know about the live roundtable is that it is a student-led group discussion activity where you will be speaking and listening. It will help make your discussions more inclusive and thought-provoking. This skill will serve you now, in college, and for the rest of your lives. Let's talk about the goals of the discussion. There are two main goals of the live roundtable. First, make sure everyone participates. Now, the loudest voice in the room isn't the only voice in the room, and the quietest among us often have the most unique insights. So when everyone contributes, there are more ideas for all of us to think about, and everyone benefits from these new perspectives. So if you find yourself contributing during the roundtable a little too much, think about how you can invite others to join the conversation. And if you're afraid or unwilling to speak, remember that you are capable of producing amazing ideas, and your voice deserves to be heard. Number 2, deeper understanding is our top priority.
So I really love that they just kind of like create that safe space and kind of set the tone for what they're going to be trying. And again, I think that they just kind of do a really good job of that throughout. So I'll make sure that when you set it up, you'll see both of these videos, but I'll make sure that I link them for you because they're great. So when you go into Parlay, you create your account. This is what an already created account kind of looks like. This is the dashboard. One of my favorite things about Parlay is they have already curated and created a lot of roundtables for you. And so I just have always felt like I just need to start to really get going. Like starting is the hardest part for me, making sure that I have my ideas together. So when I can see what somebody else has done, then I can look at that. I can take that idea, look against my TEKS. What are my learning objectives? Is this going to meet? And you can edit what's already there to create your own, which is really nice. So when I go into browse the universe, which I think is fun, there are, so many options and collections. So I can search my content area. I can search my topic. And these are typically either educators or researchers and professionals who are creating these. So a lot of them already have resources included. So it's just a matter of checking what's there to make sure that it's going to meet the needs of your learners and your content. So one of the things that they tell you in that intro video is to start your students with something easy and not high stakes. And they have tons of collections here that you could start with. So maybe we're just gonna start this by who would you like to have dinner with? So I can go in, it sets learning goals, it gives discussion questions, There are some that you could wake up tomorrow, right? Gives them a list of skills. It will give them ways to give feedback. So, you know, when we talk about wanting peer feedback, we have to teach them what's appropriate and how they should give feedback. And so it really will kind of set that up for you if you use one of these. There's also, when you create your own, you can create one from scratch. It'll give you these sections for you to put in your own information, which I think is really cool. So let's say that I want to use this topic. It asked me what class this roundtable is for. Remember, on Parlay, you can only have one class for free. So I'm going to create this roundtable, and then I can just start inviting students. It's that easy. We're going to go with this one. Why not? So I'm going to invite my students. You can either share the code or you can use the magic link. So I'm going to give you all that link. And I want you to see what it's like on the student side. Again, you're going to have to create an account. You can't get in without an account, but you can use that single sign-on with your Google account, or I think this one will actually let you sign in with your Microsoft single sign-on as well. I'm going to let you guys play with that one for a second. And once you have your accounts, if you want to respond. And our discussion question is, if you could wake up tomorrow with any new skill, what would it be? Explain your choice and why it would be important to you.
I wonder, do you have to have a secret identity?
You don't have to. I set it up that way.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you why. You're like, that's not me.
That's not me.
Because I'm bad at following directions, I saw that there was text on the left, chose not to read it, just saw the secret identity thing, and I thought that was the question. Good thing you stated the question. I was being a student.
Okay.
Selected.
Yep, I do that all the time.
Good job, Gary.
For life.
How do I get the lady to quit talking to me?
So if you hover over her, there's a way, it'll say like clear. If you kind of hover, Anna from Parlay.
Whoever I think I have Cynthia. I don't know.
I have
I
Anna.
have Cynthia. but I can't get rid of her, and I can't see now what I was typing. So I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, hover, it'll pop up, and then a little clear, like a gray thing that says X clear.
Okay, I'll try that. Then I've got, oh my goodness. Okay. It's not doing it.
All right, I see 5 responses. I'm waiting on 3. And once you've answered your discussion question, you should be able to go give peer feedback as well. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again because I want you all to see what I see on my end, okay? So I can look at my original prompt. I could edit it if I wanted it to. If I wanted to, sorry. I can see everybody in their with their anonymous names, but also when I look at it, I can take that away and I can see everybody's names. So all of my students have no idea who they're commenting on unless they're like, yo, my name is. But I know who's doing what, they don't. So that it kind of takes away that, like, I'm gonna go pick on so-and-so, or I'm gonna go like with my friend over here and, you know, make jokes on his, whatever it is, it kind of takes that away, which is really nice. I could turn that off if I wanted to. So you see up here on the top, I can put it where they're revealed, but I like to leave it anonymous. I can also change assessment. I can go in and I can provide an assessment on the discussion. So maybe I want to make sure that my students are being creative. I can add that creativity. I can create something new. I'm going to save those changes. I can change the sentence stems for feedback. If I wanted to, did you notice, did anybody get to go in to try to give feedback to anybody else? Because there were sentence stems so that you're creating meaningful feedback for your students to give each other feedback. I think I said that wrong, but you know what I mean. So I can do all of that. I can look at everybody's comments. I can go ahead and I can assess now what Candy said. I can give her 2 points for critical thinking. I can look at her collaboration if I wanted to. I can delete it. I think that she was creative in her process. So I can do all of these things. I can write feedback for her. I can see her participation with other people. She made one comment. I can see what everybody's doing. So lots of data. You guys saw that you could give each other praise with some confetti there. I gave some feedback as well. So I can also look at some data here. I can see how many of my students submitted a response, how many of them gave a comment, how many received a comment. I can see how long our responses are. Like, this data can help me to truly start to make goals, right? So today our average was 21 words. Let's make it a goal to make it 25. And so we can increase the feedback. I get a word cloud that generates. I can see the comments. And this is kind of cool because this shows the interaction. So I can see that CV and JB, Candy and Jerry, communicated directly with each other because they connect. I can see that Candy commented on Tanya's probably. But this visually shows me how well people are interacting, which is kind of neat. And then I can think about, like, this kind of helps me process my data. Was it balanced conversations? Are there some that didn't participate? And then kind of reflect so I can continue to make this process better. So I really like visually the data that exists with Parlay. And then if we're not going to have time to do this, but then we could go live. And this is where we bring everybody to have a real conversation. So we move, and I can take this to a live roundtable, and we can start discussing live. So think about how you could generate these ideas and then move them into a conversation. So we're not going to have time to do it today, but when people start getting in, I can ask somebody to speak. I can celebrate that they did. I could challenge, right? So my students down here at the bottom, they can say how they want to interact. It's kind of like raising their hand, but digitally, like kind of putting their foot out there. So it's not like just this cluster of people trying to talk at the same time. You set the expectations for how they participate, and you'll see them across here. And then again, you'll have a summary of how they participate. This will show you, this is kind of cool. It shows you how they tapped in. Let me see if this is. So this is, I told you they have demos. Oh, this is not the one I wanted. I lost my live. But it will show you how often they tap in, how much they speak. And so you can really get data on participation, because I love a Socratic seminar, but I want to know what my students are talking about. And so part of Socratic seminar was also having your tick chart and measuring who was talking, how often, and this kind of takes care of that for you, which is nice. So I think this was the pricing options that I wanted to make sure that you saw. It's a little bit pricey. I think try to do everything for free. You can delete them as you finish your discussions and you get your data, because the free, you have 12 roundtables. You can actually request that Parlay create content for you. How awesome is that? Like, I have this idea, I can't find it in the universe. Can you make something for me? Both Google and Microsoft have that single sign-on. So regardless of what platform you're using, and then the free allows you to share it to Google Classroom, which is pretty cool, I think. So let's process a little bit. Tell me how you can use this for instruction. Melanie, I'm so sorry that I missed your question. Melanie wanted to know if they have to be real skills or wizard skills. Sorry. So how can you use this for instruction, Parlay? And you can unmute yourself if you want to share. I'd love to hear you. If you feel more comfortable putting it in the chat, put it in the chat.
I love that idea of using it like to grade discussions, because even like seasoned teachers, as much experience you have with grading discussions, it always gets a little tricky, whether you're doing like tallies on your seating chart, whether you're doing all kinds of stuff with the rubric, it always gets super, super tricky. And I feel like this way you can kind of let your students go and then just be grading on the sideline, because you can see how many times they're participating, you know, how often, what kind of responses they're doing, how thoughtful their responses are. So I love that for grading, because I feel like it'll just save a bunch of time.
I'm all for saving time. Helps with oral and written communication. I really like that idea. Yes, definitely. Breaking the ice, low stakes interaction. Yeah. And that, I think that that's important. Anytime you're trying something new with your kids, the first time you try a tool, doing it low stakes to get them comfortable with it, and then kind of building is always a good idea.
But even just a fun get to know your students, right? You know how we always have all these icebreakers at the beginning of the year, and sometimes it's good to like spread them out throughout the year. I think this is just a really fun way to get to know each other, build a community in your classroom, even virtually, because they can start to see what other students in the classroom like, you know, how they think. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. So I would not be doing my job if I didn't say that the tools are amazing, but you have to set high expectations for how your students are going to participate. And I think that Parlay does some of that for you, which is why I really like Parlay. But I think even with, regardless, you have to set that tone for how students will interact with each other. And I know that y'all can do this, and it's going to be tons of fun. So closing question before we get ready to head out. I want you to use the chat. Which discussion tool will you use first? Not asking if you're going to use them, because they're going to be amazing and you're gonna. Which one do you want to use first, and why? Parlay all day, Candy says. Juan says he wants to use Parlay. Come on, Joe, you got to pick. Tell me. Lisa says Parlay. I missed one. Jerry says Kialo. I like that. It's a little less intimidating. I can see that. Tanya, try both of them.
I will.
Yes, Tanya says in the chat that she loves the video to set the expectations, but the ease of Kialo. Yeah, yep. Work my way up to Parlay. I will tell you that both of them were super easy. I got in this afternoon, played with both of them. My husband, who is like an 80-year-old grandma. No offense to 80-year-old grandmas, because that's how like untech savvy he is. Once I showed him how to sign on, he was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So there we go. Meaningful conversations. Oh yeah, I like that. The idea of using it with advisory. Definitely. There were some SEL topics in the Parlay universe that might be great to also use that. Joanna says the incognito aspect of Parlay is a lot of fun. So I'm so glad that you all were here. I want to make sure that I share with you that we've got 2 exciting events coming up before we go on Thanksgiving break. On November 18th, our 3rd session of diversity and equity with a focus on gender identity and sexual orientation. Candy has been doing an amazing job with this series. You should go. You should bring 3 friends. I promise you it'll be worth it. Candy, do you want to add any other shameless plugs?
We're all about the shameless plugs here. No, please, please, please bring your friends, come and visit us on this day. We're going to be talking about a lot of really important topics and ways that it applies in the school system, and some tips and tricks and things you can do to kind of just raise awareness and increase diversity in regards to identity and sexual orientation. So please come.
And then the very next day, we've got exciting writing tech tools, and we have so enjoyed doing this series. If you have friends who you think would benefit, it'll be up on our LMS in a few days, so you can go there if you want to go back to watch it. It will be there if you want to reference it. But thank you so much for coming. I cannot believe 2 sessions in a row. My time has been amazing, y'all. This never happens. So thank you so much for coming. Y'all have a wonderful day. Reach out if you have questions about how to use them. Any one of our coaches would be happy to help in implementation. And y'all have an amazing Thursday. It's Thursday. Have an amazing Thursday. Thank you for coming, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Ooh, I can't do that. Okay, here we go.
Bye.